Recording in progress.
I call the August 5th, 2021 Planning Commission to order. Mr. Principal Planner, please call the roll.
Mayor Olson.
Here. Oh, sorry.
Mayor Olson is absent. Commissioner Hogan.
Here.
Commissioner Beauclerk.
Here.
Commissioner Haley.
Here.
City Engineer Morrow.
Here.
Commissioner Leon is
Absent.
absent.
I'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a quorum, and due to the number of members totaling 4, as acting chairman, I will be voting on all the matters. Item B, any changes or corrections to the minutes of the July 22nd meeting?
I would move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Let's move on to item C, a public hearing on the natural resource features, special expectation, and the final plat for Pleasant View Reserve Residential Subdivision by Verdarian Homes. Viridian, sorry. Before Mr. Martinez reads the public hearing, those of you wishing to speak on this matter should know that local ordinances requires that those offering testimony on national resource special exceptions will be required to be sworn and offer truthful testimony. With that, Mr. Martinez, have a hearing notice to read.
Yes. Notice is hereby given that the Plan Commission of the City of Franklin will conduct a public hearing on Thursday, August 5, 2021 at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter, after the matter may be heard in the Common Council chambers at the Franklin City Hall, 9229 West Loomis Road, Franklin, Wisconsin, 53132, to hear public comment regarding an application from Viridian Homes, LLC, VHPVR, LLC property owner, for a special exception to natural resource feature provisions for property located at 7501 South 49th Street, Zone R6, Suburban Single Family Residence District, bearing tax key number 791-9979-003. The requested special exception to natural resource feature provisions is for the purpose of allowing for grading and fill of approximately 1,905 square feet of wetland and 2,574 square feet of wetland buffer for the development of an asphalt trail on Outlet 2 within Pleasant View Reserve Residential Subdivision Development. Culverts will be installed to maintain wetland hydrology, and the applicant is proposing mitigation site adjacent to an revised section of the same wetland, connecting the cul-de-sac of 49th Street, southward and eastward to the city's Pleasant View Park. This public hearing is being held pursuant to the requirements of Section 15.90110, applications for a special exception to natural resource feature provisions, and Section 15.10.0208, special exceptions to natural resource feature provisions of the Unified Development Ordinance. The public is invited to attend the public hearing and to provide input.
Ms. X, would you be able to give us a layman's narrative for what's we're hearing tonight?
Happily. Irregular, would you mind calling up the presentation? Thank you. So as described in the public hearing notice, I'm going to scooch. As described in the public hearing notice, this natural resource special exception is related to a final plat request that is also before this body as a subsequent agenda item. The plat is located generally at the intersection of 49th Street and the extension of Marquette Avenue. and we can review that in depth momentarily. But it is two parcels being divided into 53 single-family lots and 2 outlots. The NRSE is to construct a trail to cross a wetland that is located in the southern of the 2 outlots, that outlot being created to provide stormwater and also to protect the natural resources that are in the outlot. This is a somewhat inaccurate envisioning of what this will look like. Connecting to the neighboring Pleasant View Park, there is an approved site plan for the park that includes the trail connection, which should go this way. As described, it's for 1,431 square feet of wetland area, 1,817 square feet of wetland buffer, and then we are still waiting on some information that needs to be provided in a revised natural resource protection plan map. So one of the recommended conditions of approval from the Environmental Commission is that technical corrections be made to the NRPP so that we have complete information about the setback. The applicant's proposing to install a culvert to connect the paved trail, the areas that are being divided by the paved trail. So a culvert is essentially a tube for water to pass through to maintain the hydrology of the wetland. It is connected to nearby floodplain and the hydrologic features that are nearby. So it's important that that be maintained, and that was also important to the DNR. There's a waterway which flows through that culvert, but it is non-navigable, and the applicants have that determination. And they also have obtained the required permitting from both the Army Corps of Engineers and the DNR. There was a question from the alderperson of the district as to whether there's a water body nearby. Though there may be ponding within the wetland area here. However, the wetland delineation did not show that there was anything rising to the standard of a pond. And so the shoreline setbacks don't apply. Would be otherwise a required additional setback. So conservation easements are required for all natural resources to be protected, including mitigation areas. And so the applicants have provided draft conservation easements. They still need to provide the text document to go with those conservation easements, and I will provide a template for that to the applicants. As a condition of their preliminary plat approval, there's also a requirement that signage be shown as some of the conservation easement areas. A little difficult to see, but some eased areas, which include the setback, will be on home lots. So most of the natural resources are in this outlot, but there are a few areas of setback that are present on lots that will be people's homes. And so the condition of the preliminary plat required signage or other markings. The total wetland area described in the site intensity calculations, which are essentially figuring out how much open space is required to be left for a development of this type, differs from what was in the wetland delineation provided. The applicant did send revised calculations or information about why that is the case to me this afternoon, but I haven't had a chance to review it. So there's a condition related to that in the recommendation in the standards findings and decision. My recommendation would be that that be maintained until staff can review the materials provided. So the applicant is proposing mitigation on site, which meets the standards of the UDO. The Plan Commission can allow for it to be elsewhere in the city, but they are providing it on site as they have plenty of space to do that. They're creating the appropriate amount of wetland and wetland buffer. So there will be a stormwater pond here. The detail of this, I don't. There will be a stormwater pond here, and this is the mitigation area. So they'll be providing mitigation for both the wetland and the buffer in the appropriate amount of area. And I just note that restoration is also required for disturbances to setbacks. So just as a reminder, the buffer is considered the no-touch area where you're not permitted to construct anything or grade or make any changes. So that's part of this exception request. The setback is an area where it's possible to make changes to the topography, but then you have to restore it. So it's stepped protection of the wetland itself. A couple of other things to note. There are 2 areas of wetlands that had received a previous natural resource special exception. A previous developer of the northern part of this plat that is occurring had requested an NRSE to impact those wetland areas, and mitigation was required at that time. They did not complete the required mitigation and did not pursue the development. And in the interim, the state law changed, and so these are now exempted by both the Army Corps of Engineers and the DNR, and the city cannot require mitigation on them any longer. So they are not part of the exception request now, they're considered exempt. So you can see the detail areas of where the impacts will be occurring here. I note that the proposed mitigation includes the reuse of existing soils. We generally encourage improvements, but since the applicant does not wish to do that, it's recommended as a condition of approval by the Environmental Commission that the Plan Commission also recommend financial sureties or a performance surety for the mitigation area, so that once the seeding and so forth has occurred, that invasive species don't just supersede that mitigation area. So otherwise, I'm recommending approval of the natural resource special exception. The Environmental Commission did review it at their July 28th meeting. There was a condition related to the required permitting that was deleted at that meeting because it had been met. So I'm happy to answer any questions the commission may have about the NRSE, and the applicant is also present to offer testimony if that is required.
Okay, thank you. I now open the public hearing on the natural resources future special exception. Anyone wishing to offer testimony, please come forward at this time to be sworn in by City Attorney Wesolowski. Anyone wishing to speak on these matters? Anyone wishing to speak on these matters? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing on these matters. Questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Haley?
The Natural Resource Special Exception Plan notes that mitigation areas will require 5 years of monitoring and maintenance per city standards. You're agreeing to do that. Is it standard procedure that the developer submit reports to the city on the status of those 5-year maintenance? And if not, I'd like to see it. It doesn't do any good to do 5 years of monitoring and maintenance and then not have somebody reacting to potential needs or whatever. How would the city know until we're 3, 4, 5 years down the line that something isn't being maintained properly?
Past NRSE applications have included reporting from whoever the installer was of that. So for example, with the NRSE that was completed for the Conservancy, they have a plan that they have submitted an update on. So it's just a written memo basically from their engineer as to the status of it. So currently there's not anyone in the planning department with the expertise to go out there and tell you that the right plants are thriving. So we ask that the applicants provide that.
So they are providing us a summary of conditions when they do these. Do we know what sort of frequency or any requirement?
In that case, it was annually, so.
Annually?
Yep.
Okay. Will this be handled the same way?
It can be.
I would move approval with the condition that they submit annual reporting to the city.
Can we add that to we will add that to the motion?
Yeah, when whoever makes the motion can add
Okay.
that.
That is recommended condition number 8 of the standards, findings, and decision.
Any other questions? Okay, I think you can, Commissioner Morrow, can you read that?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the Breeding Homes LLC Natural Resources Feature Special Exception pursuant to the standards, findings, and decision recommended by Plan Commission and Common Council, consideration of the Environmental Commission standards. In addition, you said 8? Number 8?
Number 8.
Number 8, yeah, don't go up to 5. That there would be monitoring submitted on an annual basis. It'll be interesting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And we have a second motion that we can read, Mr.
Madam
Bauer.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of resolution conditionally approving a final plat for Pleasant View Reserve subdivision at 7475 and 7501 South 49th Street.
All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
Is there a second?
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I
Commissioner Haley?
have a question that I'm hoping city engineer can address. The extension of, 50th Street and the sidewalk connection at the school, they're not shown on the plat, they're not on their property. What is the plan for extending that sidewalk to the school? Is there a plan, who's doing it and when? And the same thing with the extension of 50th Street to the north. We had worked that out on the previous
Sure.
application.
So the connections, I'm going to say 49th to the school, that will be done in phase 2 of the subdivision. So phase 1 is everything north side of Marquette. Phase 2 is going to be everything south side of Marquette. And we still haven't seen the construction plans for that. Right? I think we've seen them, but we haven't gone through the approval process. 50th Street will be, I've got it in the budget for next year. We're going to extend Minnesota. I shouldn't say extend it, but we'll widen Minnesota to the north, widen 50th Street to the north to Minnesota. And along with that, there would be the extension of the water main. Part of phase 1, they're going to take the water main to the property line, if you will, and then we'll extend the water line up to Minnesota and then generally east to 51st Street. So we'll loop the water main. That'll happen next year.
And we are working with the city to make sure that the sidewalk aligns and matches up elevation wise and all that.
Yeah, so there's, I want to say it's like, it's a good foot and a half maybe. So yeah, they'll thin it out. So we have asked for most construction traffic, once we get Marquette done, to come in and out from the north. We'll tear that up, but it'll save Marquette. And then next year we'll, as they're building homes basically, we'll be improving 50th Street.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We have a motion.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution imposing conditions and restrictions for the approval of a temporary use for a holiday.
We did already.
Oh,
Now
I
we
already
take
did
the
that.
vote, right?
Let's go on to the next one, sorry.
You gotta vote on the
Got to vote
plan.
on this one.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none.
Try and get this meeting hurried quicker.
Now we will move on to some business matters. Item D1, Torbenson shows annual craft expo at the sports complex. Ms. X, this is application, anything unusual about it?
No, Mr. Torbenson has submitted his application as usual for his event at the sports complex. The dates have changed from the previous approval, which this event, he did request approval and it was granted last year, but it was conditional on a variety of things, including the facility being open. And so this year it has changed. And so the event will be held on Friday, November 26th, Saturday and Sunday, and setup will occur on Wednesday, and then tear down will occur on Sunday. So the health department did request that if there are any food vendors, that they be properly licensed, and so that is a recommended condition of approval. Otherwise, this is almost exactly the same as prior years, with the exception of last year's COVID circulation plan. So,
Okay,
are there any questions?
any questions? Mr. Mauer, can you read the,
Madam Chairman, now I would like to make a motion to adopt a resolution imposing conditions and restrictions for the approval of a temporary use for a holiday craft and gift expo for a property located at 6000 West Ryan Road, Milwaukee County Sports Complex.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. We move on to item,
Motion passes.
motion passes. Item D. 2 is a site plan amendment for the Whitnall Point Apartments for renovation of various buildings and minor additions. Mr. Martinez?
Yes,
could
this
you
is
give us some
site plan amendment for the Whitnall Pointed Apartments, specifically the clubhouse area and the pool. So these are the existing conditions. So what they are doing or they are proposing is the clubhouse addition, approximately 1,200 square feet, also a pool replacement, pool equipment building that is new, pergola area, and a barbecue area. So this proposal is actually decreasing the impervious surface area, so it's not triggering any additional landscape requirement, it's not triggering any parking, any additional parking is not required. Staff is recommending approval. There's just condition that they will need to issue in the engineering review that is related to the discharging of the pool wastewater. So
Any questions from the commissioner? Commissioner Morrow?
Martinez, I looked through the packet, I didn't see, staff had a conversation. We are okay with the those were the only two items.
okay, yep.
Any other questions? And we can read the motion.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution site plan property located at 105 West Cortez Circle, for renovation, clubhouse and pool area of Whitnall Apartment, 747-0035001. And do I need to remove the condition about engineering memo, or are there other issues on there?
No, yeah, you can remove that.
Okay, and with the exception, we can remove the engineering memo comment.
All those in favor?
Wait,
Need a second.
Oh, a second.
Second.
All those in favor? Is there any question? All
So
those in,
just to elaborate, so our memo was restricting when they drain the pool. We did not want to go sanitary sewer for some reason. Having discussion, this is water that the water department supplied, so the sewer department should be able to take it. We just asked that it not happen on a rainy day. So we're good.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion's approved.
seconded it.
Straight.
Commissioner Haley. Okay,
Move adjournment?
second? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion,
All those in favor?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I didn't do that on the last one. We are adjourned.
Opposed?
Opposed? We are adjourned.
Motion passes.
Oh, my gosh.